Test. Test.
All right, good evening, everybody. Can everybody hear me okay? All right. So thank you for joining us on this extremely hot day. The direct show is 94 degrees today. Today we have a packed agenda, so we might be going a little bit quickly. We are going to ask that everyone saves their questions for the end, and of course we will have public comment at the end. But today we're really excited to have guest speakers from the Department of Family and Support Services, or known as DFSS, and also 211. We're going to start with our roll call, and we'll go with Sam Schoenberg.
Present.
Jenny Schaefer.
Present.
Malvina Garcia is present. We have no votes today. Anybody but part of a community group that would like to make an announcement? So if you have an event coming up soon, or just want to make the community aware of something that your community group is working on, show of hands. Okay. Going once, going twice. We have implemented the public discussion on trend concerns. So every month we want to hear from you, the community. If there's any trends that you see related to public safety or issues that you see, we'd like to make it aware, because what we do is we set these concerns to our Department of Community Commission for Public Safety and Accountability. We'd like to ladder these up so that we can look at trends across the city, not only within our district. Some of the things that we've been noticing, excuse me. We received a couple of concerns related to over-policing incidents. So specifically, we know that the Pride Parade policing tactics were not favorable to some of the residents in the neighborhoods. We have heard about those. There's also a police reaction to an alleged armed teen in Uptown that was seen as potentially over-policing. So we wanted to make you aware of that. When it comes to statistics, we have seen that there's a 40% reduction in robberies and a 38% reduction in burglaries compared to this same period last year. And then we've also heard from community members that it takes a very long time and sometimes to no answer when we call 911. So we want to hear from you. If anybody has any trends or concerns that you've seen or want to make us aware of, now is the time to do it. Jesse. Hi, Jenny. Jenny also has some questions to ask to the community as well. But does anybody have any concerns or trends I'd like to share?
You know, I like to do real. Well, the one thing that I was going to share is that we haven't been hearing a ton of significant trends and concerns regarding public safety from community recently, and it really gives us the hope that people are feeling relatively safe here in the community, and just kind of wanted to put that out there. Are people here feeling like safety is improving in their community? Yes. Generally, I'm seeing yeses and nods, and any other. Welcome. Thank you. Thank you for coming. We know it's very hot outside. Very glad you're able to make it. We're just right now taking an opportunity to address any trends and concerns around public safety that people are feeling in the neighborhood. And we're saying that we've heard a lot of positive information about how public safety is looking, and we even got one email that said, in a nutshell, in 74 years, I've never felt safer in my city, the city of Chicago. So that was a great email to hear, and I do think that people are starting to feel the safety that we're seeing in the statistics as well.
So I will share my own experience. I live at Wellington and Wellington and Inner Lakeshore Drive at the bottom of the Wellington. The other day I was walking back from Mariano's and some guy, I think he's a homeless guy, was walking in the opposite direction of me, screaming at the top of his lungs that he wanted to kill someone. So I told the young lady that was walking beyond me, I said, listen, be careful, that guy is whatever. Turns out that he's been arrested 40 times and released, and there's 2 of them that go up and down Broadway, and they grab women's rear ends, and they harass kids, and they harass people. I've lived here for 19 years, and I feel safe, I mean, as a general rule, but I don't want to be harassed by that. I called the alderman's office, and the alderman told me to call 911, which I did. The officer took all of my information, said he got a whole bunch of calls. Next day, the guy's out on the street doing the same exact thing. So I feel safer. I mean, I feel safe in Lakeview. But by the way, I own 2 rental properties on the south side in Chatham and in Auburn, and I don't feel safe down there. I can guarantee you. And when I'm down there after 5 o'clock, I feel even less unsafe. So for us, it's easy because we live in Lakeview. I live on the 16th floor in a doorman building. No one's going to get to me. But when I do walk the neighborhood, and I do often, especially now in the nicer, well, this is not nice weather, but nicer weather, I'm concerned about that issue. And in some of the conversations I've had, like my building is, if you're familiar with where I live, the end of Wellington, there's an old folks home right there, that big tall brick building. I talked to a lot of the older folks there, including in my own building, and they don't go out when it gets dark. They don't even go to Mariano's. They don't go to Trader Joe's. They don't go down to Diversity. They don't go anywhere. I don't think that's right. So I don't know what the statistics show. I mean, I went to the CPD website and it shows that all of this stuff is down, but it shows that retail theft is up and burglaries are up. And those are the things that I think residents are more concerned with. So anyway, that's just my input.
Oh, we really appreciate that. And that actually will bring us to the next slide. The reason why we asked for this is because every district council that has their monthly meeting, we're directed to have these trends and concerns discussions so that we can talk about them when we meet at our quarterly meeting, which we just recently had last Saturday. So these were the trends and concerns that showed up across the entire city. And you can tell, like, by the number with a yellow with May, the light blue with April, and the dark blue with March. So the things that got brought up most were auto parts thefts and break-ins, mental health and the care response, gun violence, CTA safety, traffic safety. So the reason that we're asking you guys is so that we can bring this to the quarterly meeting and have these discussions about what we can do to help try and work towards solutions. And I also want to acknowledge that you're saying that in our community, it's very different feeling of safety than when you go to other parts of the city. And that's really one of the reasons why we wanted to have this meeting tonight focused on resources and access to resources that create safety in community. So we hope to tie those two together.
Can I ask you a question really quick? And I'm just curious about this. So I called the alderman's office and they referred me to the police. And I called the police. And then they said they couldn't do anything. And the alderman said he couldn't do anything. If nobody can do anything, so how are we going to make some progress towards a permanent solution to some of these issues like the one I just brought up? And by the way, it's all over Facebook in the Facebook neighborhood groups. There's a petition going around, Block Club picked it up. I mean,
this is like, about Leon, Willie Wright and Leon Jackson. So this has been, they've been known quantities in the 19th district and surrounding for several years now. And I'm not going to sit here and say I have a good answer for this. I really don't. And it seems like there is a real gap in the services that can actually make a difference in those 2 particular cases with folks who are aggressive towards others, do show violence, do get arrested and convicted from time to time. But what I guess I don't understand is why the police would say they can't do anything if there's a specific allegation of a new crime that they've committed or a new assault that they've done.
In his defense, he said he can't do anything. They arrest him and then they release him, right? So it's like a revolving door for these guys, and this is an ongoing issue. And I said to him, I said, you're going to wait until they kill someone or hurt someone and then take action? But I thought what was more fascinating was the handoff back and forth to each other. And meanwhile, we as residents who live there have to deal with these people. I just saw him today before I came here. And I was at Mariano's on Broadway right there, and he was harassing a lady and her little kid. She was dragging the kid away, but he kept walking, and he's in hospital scrubs. The city has a ton of resources. I don't understand why somebody can't connect them to the resources that can help them instead of just letting them wander the street. Yeah, that's my frustration.
It's a fair frustration.
And that's why I'm here.
Yeah, and it's an important point. Part of this meeting is also at least educating ourselves and the community as well about what resources are available, other resources that exist through city entities like DFSS. So I'm hoping we can come up with some ideas here tonight. Another actor that's involved in that situation is the state's attorney's office as well. And I know that one of the actions that they've taken more recently is petitioning for detention following arrest, because you do have to have a judicial ruling that you should be detained before trial under the Pretrial Fairness Act. So those petitions are occurring, and that is another point of leverage over some of this. But at least from what my understanding, which is limited, but my understanding is it is a complicated situation where there are no good answers right now.
When you said complicated, that's exactly what Alderman Bennett Lawson told me. It's complicated, it's powerless. I don't know, but it seems to me that if you're the alderman, that you should figure this out. That's what your job is. My whole thing is, I don't think it's a criminal issue. But somebody has to step in and get these people the help they need so they're not wandering the street. That is where I'm more focused on, and there's too many passing the buck moments.
Sam, has a care team ever engaged this bill?
Not to my knowledge, but that was actually where I was going. So DJ, I'm not sure if you've attended or seen anything for our meetings, but one of the things that we advocate strongly for is for the expansion of CARE. So crisis assistance, response, and engagement is what CARE stands for. And it is a mobile crisis response team to mental health situations. And clearly these gentlemen are experiencing some mental health issues or situations. And so one of the things that an organization called Treatment Not Trauma is organizing for is for the reopening of mental health clinics across the city. So when we speak to Commander Dasani or police officers, they tell us, well, we only have two options usually when there's someone that is acting in the way that you've described as jail or the hospital. And in neither of those cases, it's going to be the right treatment, honestly, because like you said, they're back out. So this is another reason that we have been advocating so strongly for the expansion of CARE, fully funding these mental health clinics, because we want to provide these folks with the wraparound services that are going to be needed for true, healing. And I know that's a lot of, aspirational, messaging right now, but to Sam's point, like we do talk to Commander Dasani and the police officers here. They will respond to it, but unfortunately right now it is one of those situations where it continues to happen. So we just don't have the right resources in place, and that's why we want to make the community aware of the resources that we do have in our communities.
Funny you mentioned CARE, because I just read an article this morning about how they're underfunded, and
We're going to talk about that very, very soon.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay.
No worries. I mean, thank you for bringing these concerns. Like these are the forums, and we appreciate you bringing them up.
And also, I'll say I'm happy if you want to meet out to continue talking about it. I'm happy to try and brainstorm.
And the last thing I would want to point out, I know we're going to move a little bit quickly because we have a lot to cover, but sexual assault actually did see a rise from this period same period to last year. So 12 incidents were recorded this year versus the 5 last year. So it is going to be shown as a bit of a spike, but did not want to just make it seem like everything's great. There are some specific spikes that are occurring specifically for our district.
So as the member of the 19th District Council who serves on the committee that nominates members of the Community Commission for Public Safety and Accountability, there were recently 2 new members of the CCPSA who were appointed and confirmed by the City Council. They include Angelique Guzman and Anjanette Young. Many folks here might recognize particularly that second name, Anjanette Young. She was the victim of a wrongful police no-knock warrant in 2019, and has become an advocate for reforms on things like no-knock warrants and other police reforms, and has worked with other victims, her families that have faced similar situations from police. By that same token, she really expressed to our committee a really well-rounded understanding of police and the hard job that they have, and the complicated and complex situations that police have to go into. So I'm very excited for her to be serving on the commission, as well as Ms. Guzman, one of the youth representatives on the commission. There's a couple of other updates from their last meeting. They are starting to do some education around running for our position, district councils across the city. That election is coming up at the same time as the first round of mayoral and aldermanic elections in early next year, and the petition period to run for these offices starts in July. So that is some public education going on there. And the CCPSA formally recommended that the Deputy Inspector General for Public Safety conduct an audit of CPD's adherence to the welcoming city ordinance, which bars CPD and local law enforcement from collaborating with federal immigration officers. And there's been a lot of questions about the metes and bounds of that restriction and how the CPD has complied with it in certain specific circumstances. So there's an audit that's been requested of the OIG. I don't have a timeline on that, and they can. That is really up to the OIG's office, and it can take a long time.
I did want to take the opportunity to welcome the newest residents of the 19th district. Welcome, Maggie. I'm so surprised that Sam is here on 2 hours of sleep. So we're very happy to have him. Obviously, happy to have Maggie in the neighborhood.
I will just say I am on leave from my other job as a lawyer, and I'm really only here because I live a block away, and my husband wanted to just have a night in with Chinese food and watch the baby, but she's doing great, and thank you very much. And we're so glad to see you.
At the beginning of the month, Jenny and I had the privilege of attending NYU's Alternative Response Conference. So we had about 450 practitioners and policymakers come here to Chicago to discuss establishing permanence for alternative response systems. It was really invigorating. It was really inspiring. I was really happy to attend. I'm going to butcher this word, Sam. Jenny participated in a plenary panel. Did I do it right? Okay. To share, some of the insights on our path as a city, building and expanding some of these programs that we've talked about. Jenny has been at the forefront of the CARE discussions and advocating for its expansion. So we were really happy to be able to share our work. I was also invited to speak along with 2nd District Councilor Alex Perez. We were focused more on the park and alternative response initiative that we've been working on. So I got to talk about some of the successes and challenges around that. And I actually have more to talk about on that front specifically. So for those of you who may not be aware, one of the things that we've been working towards is what we call the park and alternative response team. So this is a alternative response model that we are suggesting to the city so that instead of CPD responding to 911 calls related to parking violations, we have the Department of Finance, a civilian department, respond to them instead. Unfortunately, we have been having challenges getting this implemented, despite in September of 2025 having a very successful hearing where all departments were saying that they were on board with this. When it gets down to the logistics is where we see that we're having a few issues. So we had an alignment meeting with the mayor's office, Office of Emergency Management Communications, CPD, and the Department of Finance, where we learned that the administration is actually recommending that our pilot program be lessened and restricted to only parking violation 2s, which means like permit and city sticker violations versus traffic hazards like bike lane interference or fire hydrant blockage. And then also reducing that the hours of operations from 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. in which CPD responded that's not when they need the help.
And 5 days a week instead of 7 days a week.
And 5 days a week versus 7 days. So it's a great reduction to what we had proposed, and we're very disappointed to hear this from the administration, just because we have been told literally by alder folks that this is a no-brainer solution when we first presented it. So we're just letting you know the latest and greatest that we're going to keep fighting. And as Jenny mentioned, we did have the opportunity to attend our district council quarterly meeting this past Saturday, and the newly instated Deputy Mayor Emmanuel Andre, so he's the Deputy Mayor of Community Safety. He was at our meeting, and I was able to ask him to commit to making this happen to its full extent. And I was pleased to get his full attention, and we have a follow-up meeting to occur here soon. But he did promise to work with us to see how else we can make this initiative something that's going to be done to its full extent. So we'll keep you apprised. Speaking of which, next month, please stay tuned. July 29th is our meeting, and we're going to dedicate the topic so we can give you a full in-depth update on where that initiative stands and what the latest is, and hopefully we'll have some good news for you in about a month.
Does the city council vote on that?
The city council does vote on this. So one of the things that we did in September 2025 is present to the Public Safety Committee, which is a subset of the city councilors, and we had a very successful hearing, very positive reactions and feedback. However, when it goes up to a vote, it goes to all 50, obviously. And one of the things that we've heard from the departments and just all folks, alders, in order to get something passed, you're going to have alignment. You need to have alignment from all departments. So if CPD is not willing to say that they're going to include PV1s and PV2s, then a lot of alders are not going to support this or vote for it. So we want to make sure that we have our homework done. We have all departments in line with the full proposal before we take it to City Council. We do have tentatively a next hearing / potential vote on July 9th, which is next in a week and a half, I believe. So we have that potentially on the books, but we're trying to get all of our ducks in a row, trying to get as much information, as much push as possible before then. And like I said, we'll hopefully have good news for you guys next month. So we have lots of co-sponsors for the ordinance, but the ordinance was written by Alderman Matt Martin of the 47th Ward, so we are very grateful. He's been a great collaborator with us. But as I mentioned, we have many other alders as well supporting and co-sponsoring this across the city, because we are working on this with our co-councilor Jason Huff of the 8th District, which is the southwest side of the city. And we have an array of political views on this initiative, and ranges from conservative to progressive, but we're all aligned that this is a good idea and we want to make this happen. And one of the things that we want to make sure that happens is because it's a pilot program, we want to make sure that the pilot program is big enough to be successful. And right now, what the mayor's office has recommended is too small for us to even consider it to be worth pursuing, because then I personally feel that it would not be big enough to prove its value.
Sure. What is it that you need in order to have alignment between all three of those organizations? Because that to me seems like the first step.
Yeah, great question. Hopefully you guys can some of the examples. So CPD does not want to have the traffic hazard parking violation calls included in this pilot program because they fear that it could be safety risk. So we've been told time and time again that there could be a dead body in the trunk of a car that's illegally parked, which we have proven is overstated, because we analyzed over 275,000 calls for service, and we found that less than 0.05% of the time a parking violation call turned into something potentially violent, right? So very, very few instances where it actually turned into something violent. So that is the safety concern that CPD brings forth. Office of Emergency Management Communications, so call takers or dispatchers. Some of the logistical issues that you can face is that sensitive information cannot be broadcast over police radio to non-police members, or maybe technical equipment that the Department of Finance may not have needs to be required for them to have full access that shows the same things that CPD receives. So if a call comes in, CPD wants to know where the traffic violation is occurring, and right now we don't have the technology to make that happen. And so it's more about what do we have and how do we make it happen. And we know that other cities around the United States, our neighbor Evanston does this just perfectly fine. So how do we implement this same, logistical tactics here as we do other places?
That was my other question. Do you have a case study from somewhere else that you can use as a reference of how this pilot program could be successful?
So yeah, we are working together more cities to understand how other people across the country are doing it, but we have talked to Evanston and we know that this is how they do it, and they've been doing it for years, and it's not going to problem there. I think one of the things that this is really bringing out for us, or for me, I guess, is to understand there is stated commitments by both the police department and the city to see an alternative response expand. But when it comes to actually the will to get the thing done and be creative and thinking about it, that's where the sticking points that have been happening. And so we are really trying to push them. We know alternate response is the future of response, right? We need to make sure that we are sending the right person to the right type of situation. And it's going to be hard, and it's going to cause a little bit of culture change in a department. And it's going to cause us have to rethink how we do those things. So I don't think these little sticking points that we're hearing are good enough reasons for not moving forward with something that's as, like Marilla said, a no-brainer as having non-police respond to parking. Okay, I'm going to try to do this very fast. The care team here in our district We are huge supporters of it, and the idea of having mental health crisis response go out to people who are experiencing mental health crises. I want to highlight that, in my opinion, first of all, it was very, very good reporting. That was very accurate to my experiences being both inside and outside advocating for this program. What I think this article actually highlighted was the failure of implementation and not actually failure of concept of alternative response. We have seen, Albuquerque has 3,500 calls for service that they answer a month. They're non-police crisis response. We know it can be successful, and now there's been some light shed on the fact of what's causing some of the trouble here in Chicago around meaningful, sustained implementation across the department. And so I really think the solution is not abandoning alternative response, but it's really continuing to do the organizing that we're doing here and really staying firm in the vision that we have for creating a robust alternative response system here in Chicago. One thing that we're suggesting to people, if you have thoughts on this article, feel free to write to the editor. They have letters to the editor that they publish. We're asking people across the city to kind of share why care is important to them or what they want to see happen with the care program. And so that the way to do that is going to be writing letters at chicagotribune.com. And I think you just write the whole email, like you don't put in a document, just copy and paste it, or write it as you would write a normal email. Hope that answers your question.
It does, but I have one other question, if you don't mind. What is, in your opinion, of all three of you, what is the reason for the implementation problem, and what are those implementation problems?
I think that the article kind of did a really nice job. BJ was the commissioner of CCPSA, she's no longer there. She was not hiring new people for the caravan as people were rolling off the team. So that really impacted the number of caravans that were available to go out and respond to calls that were coming in. There was a lot of internal things within the mayor's office that was a lot of stops and starts and stops and starts. And it took a long time to get to where we needed to be. Sure. So, you guys know, at the end of
99% of all failed programs had perfect technical plan behind them. The implementation failed because of the change management, right? So what I'm seeing, the common systemic symptoms that we're picking up from care implementation, right? From treatment, not trauma implementation, the fact that we have still people who are falling through the cracks in the system, from the way we do event policing, right? It's all very kind of old school, right? There's no we're talking about innovation, like reimagine technology, reimagine travel booking, right? We keep hearing about reimagining things, but what we're not understanding and what we're not seeing is systemic approach to these changes. And public service and public spaces are notoriously difficult to change from sort of bureaucratic way how they're working. And that's a real issue. It's not a personalities issue. And so I think the challenge we have in Chicago is that there's so much ideological what do you call it, posturing, when people in each corner are just saying, just do this one thing. It's not this one thing. It's truly a systemic approach to change management, connecting all of the stakeholders, all of the systems that impact public safety, and reimagining public safety, not in the way we have it now, which we have like 100-year-old policing model with some creepy surveillance on top, right? But actually reimagining how we engage community, how we engage all the stakeholders, and how we manage this in a systemic way. That's the challenge for us. And that includes our older people, it includes our city employees and managers and leaders, that includes police department, that includes all of these stakeholders. But I think the issue here is specifically that we're lacking that vision. It's both technological, kind of urbanist, psychological, social, like all of these elements need to come together so that we're not in this room, basically not being, just admiring a problem and not being able to move forward. I think that's kind of where we are. Sorry for being annoying.
Not that I think also I just want to say yes, and to Jenny's point earlier about the willingness to come to the table to be creative. I think that's another thing that we don't see enough of is our stakeholders, our leaders to come to the same room and actually hash this out and commit to action. So that's another thing I just want to mention because we're experiencing that with our initiative, and it's really frustrating to have the same conversation 3 times over with different stakeholders in the same department.
I know we did in time crunch, but I also just think that a lack of not just vision, but leadership and someone who has the ability to put all these ducks in a row, bring all these stakeholders together at the table and really get them to hash that out. I think that is a common thread that we've been seeing throughout. And it has been a frustration with this administration that they have not put forward the leadership that's necessary to wrangle these departments, to have willing stakeholders within them come to the table and put aside their institutional prerogatives somewhat to come to a whole that actually is implemented in a way that works. So that leadership, I think, is also really crucial.
Okay, there is good news about CARE. CARE did expand citywide. It used to just cover a couple of different districts, including the 19th. It is now citywide. The biggest reason why that's exciting is because now it allows the police department to write directives so that for the whole entire membership, instead of just being like very specific to the district. So, and it also obviously increases the number of calls that the CARE teams have access to. The hours of operation also shifted very slightly, and we added an hour with the new expansion. We are in the process. We have 4 vans that are up and running, last I heard. We are in the process of hiring and staffing up 8 vans. There's been talk. I'm gonna say it and cross my fingers, and I hope that it happens that in October they're actually gonna try to be expanding hours as well. There's another big change. The CARE teams used to only address mental health calls. Now they address mental health and social emotional health calls, which I think is a big addition to the CARE team. So it gives them, sometimes someone might be having some type of social need that's not a mental health crisis, right? Maybe they are sleeping in a doorway in the wrong spot. That's not convenient for a community. That's something that now the CARE team has the ability to respond to. It can respond to 6 years up and older. And this last piece I'm not going to get into because we don't have time, but basically you can call CARE, you can call 911 right now and ask for CARE, and you're not guaranteed a CARE man, but you're going to be put on the right track to hopefully increase your chances of getting a CARE team. And the last thing I want to say about CARE is get to that next slide. Is I hope you guys we have 2 big meetings in a row. Our next council meeting is the 29th, and the day before that we're having a big town hall on the northeast side, inviting all the older people to talk about the vision of treatment, not trauma, expanding care, and reopening the mental health clinic. So I hope you all come to both of those with us and have a fun week together. I think these next 2 will skip in the with time.
Just say that they're on.
They're online. Go ahead, feel free to take a peek at them. I don't want to say www.19thdistrictcouncil.com.
And then we always give an update to the community partnership plan. We're still sitting at 91% complete because, as you've heard, we've been working towards expansion of CARE and our parking alternative response team initiative. Yeah, we'll just take my.
Okay. Now we're going to meet our team and what we're kind of here and what we want to talk about. Before we do that, though, I want to just kind of share why we invited DFSS and 211 to our meeting today. When we want to make sure that the understanding that community safety or public safety requires both proactive safety strategies and also safety strategies that are primarily reactive strategies. So when we think of public safety, I think so many people think of police and fire and paramedics and hopefully the CARE team, right? Those are all important pieces of public safety, but they mainly are here to be reactive to people who are already in crisis. We know that creating safe communities means making sure people have access to resources and all those proactive strategies like employment and livable wages, affordable housing, access to healthcare, mental health care, youth opportunities, et cetera, violence prevention. I don't want to not say that one, but all those things are really important. And so if we want to create safe communities for all people in Chicago, we need to make sure that all people have access to resources, and that we're investing in like those proactive strategies so that we can prevent crises from happening to begin with. And just to kind of pull some visuals on exactly that, these were some information about median household incomes in 2020 to 2024. The darker blue, where the 19th district is, are the higher incomes. You can see also a direct correspondence with darker blue in the next visualization about high school graduation rates. Right, we're not surprised that we see that these are correlated, and then when you look at the last graphic, it's almost like a reverse, right? These places that have the darker blue areas that's where more they tend to be lighter and less violent crime, and obviously the places with the light blue, that's where you see the concentration of violent crime. So there is a lot of data that shows we know what creates safe communities. We know why the 19th district is one of the safer communities in Chicago, and it's because we have all these access to resources.
Does that make sense to folks? Yeah. Okay.
So I'm not going to spend a ton of time on this. I want DFSS to come up sooner and speak about this, but we believe that they're a really, really important piece of what creates public safety in our community. And then just wanted to kind of highlight funding, right? When we look at funding, the largest portion of all dollars go to fund police. $2.1 billion goes to fund policing. When you compare it to DFSS, they get about a third of that. They get about $632.5 million of their budget. But when you look even more carefully, most of their budget, over 50% of the budget, comes from outside grants and from federal sources. I think 30% of that comes from the Chicago budget, whereas CPD, about 95.9% of their budget comes from Chicago budget. And also another thing that's interesting to note is because DFSS doesn't come from our own funding, they actually had a decrease of 32.5% in their budget this year. And so that impacted things like early childhood education. There's $2.3 million less funding that they had this year. Workforce services was down $1.5 million, and then violence reduction was down $1.1 million.
Can you explain why that is?
I mean, I think it's speculation, but I think, it's what people prioritize. The city council, the mayor, these are the budgets that they put through. I think it's also we have always thought that when we feel like we want to protect ourselves, it's always how can we add more money to police? How can we continue to support police to make sure that they get the money? And they are an important piece of public safety. There's no doubt that we need them for our public safety system, but I think one of the things that's really missing in our conversation about what creates safe communities is the important services that DFS offers and other, community building things that we know are vital to
Follow up a little bit, if I may, on that question, but you mentioned that most of the funding for DFSS comes from outside of the city, so it's insulated from whatever budget from the city, right? So my question was, why is this outside funding 30%?
So like SNAP and Medicaid, this is Trump punishing Chicago.
That was
yeah. I mean, maybe you guys can speak more to that, but
yeah, I was. Can you guys hear me?
That's for the live stream, and then this one's for the room. Come on.
Yeah, come on.
Thank you. Just to answer your question, a lot of the grant funding kind of expired. A lot of the ARPA funds and all the things kind of expired, so we get back a lot of programs on short. That's kind of fun.
Okay, so some federal government and not the state government.
Correct.
Okay.
They're doing a good job planning progressive.
another thing to consider is one of the things that we talk about with CARE is that we want the city to fully fund CARE because that becomes a line item year after year. Similar here, we want it to be a fortified line item by the city because then we don't have to rely on these outside dollars. And that's the big risk, right? Because if we have another administration federally, then it's at risk. So that's another important reason that we say that public safety should not equate only policing in our city. It needs to be a comprehensive umbrella.
And just like that's one of the big reasons why our district council talks all the time about the workforce allocation study, and now you're going to hear us talking about implementation of the workforce allocation study and expanding alternative response, so that we can make sure we are using our police resources more efficiently and effectively, so that we have more resources to put into other proactive public safety measures. And with that, 10 minutes past what we were hoping, but I think this has been a great conversation. We appreciate you guys having that with us. We would like to invite Daniel Katz. He is the Director of Family Support Services. The Director of Family Support Services. And after that, we're also going to be having 2-on-1 speak. So we're going to let Daniel give a little bit of presentation, and then Jason at 2-on-1, and then we're going to open up to questions too.
All right, well, thank you. My name is Daniel Cassell. I'm the Director of the Community Service Centers for the Department of Family and Support Services. We are, we all report to the Human Services Division. Today, I'll just give you a brief overview of the different services we provide in the Human Services Division. So this is kind of our structure. So our commissioner is Danny Castaneda. I'm Daniel Cassell, Courtney Pallamore, and Delaney and Kiana kind of make up the team for Human Services. So again, I'm the Director of the Community Service Centers. Our 6 service centers throughout the city provide case management services for residents of the city of Chicago. So what is case management services? Case management services is basically, we have a team of human service specialists that work with residents that come in to try to meet them at pretty much any goal that they present. So if they come in and say that they are interested in employment, we try to link them with employment resources. If they come in and present a domestic violence issue, we have DV advocates on site as well that we can refer to. We also have a rental assistance program that we run for the city of Chicago. And then we also provide pretty much any resource that they're looking for, housing, different things like that. We try to make sure that we link them to those services. We complete a service plan with them to provide follow-up to make sure that they're actually achieving those particular goals. So, that's pretty much our services in a nutshell. We also act as the warming and cooling centers for the city. Anytime the weather gets too hot, too cold, we're open from 9 to 5. We have one main hub, which is our Garfield Center. They're open, their hours are typically extended to 8, or they open on the weekend, or sometimes for 24 hours. Also, as you can see, we have our old district manager in the picture, Eddie Kaka. We do have a new district manager at North Area, Beatrice Gomez. She's here with us today as well. On the back table, we left some resources. We have our rental assistance flyer. It'll break down our rental assistance program in detail. We also have flyers, cooling center flyers. We also have the North Area flyers, and it's basically, we do a monthly communication about the activities that we host at North Area. So that flyer is back there as well, full of good information. I'm going to move past the community service. We're going to take questions afterwards.
Yes.
Right? Okay, so I'll move past. I'm going to try to make it through this presentation. So this is our rental assistance program in a nutshell. As you can see, the funding fluctuates based on what's available, what grants are available, things of that nature. So we are a CSBG funded operation, and we get a lot of money through community service block grant. We also get emergency solution grant money to fund rental assistance. So I don't have my 2026 projection up here, but we did get over 2.8 million allocated towards rental assistance for the FSS. We're looking to try to assist up to 450 families. Now, for the rental assistance program, we provide up to 6 months of assistance. That can be 5 months in arrears and 1 month forward, or it can be 4 months and 1 month forward. We try to provide that future month rent for a cushion for families to, for a cushion as far as them being behind. The different reasons for accessing rental assistance. A, you can be a victim of fire, flood, foreclosure. And for foreclosure, it's typically the tenant. So it's not really the landlord in foreclosure. That means the tenants and the tenant's unit is in foreclosure. We assist with that, domestic violence, as well as eviction. So if you are in those particular states, we provide a security deposit first month's rent towards your new unit that you'll be moving into. But otherwise, to apply to qualify for the arrearages, for us, we look at temporary loss of income, meaning something out of your control. So can't be, I have a seasonal job, I'm not working during this time frame. It has to be, I lost my employment, or I had a medical issue that caused me not to be able to pay my bills, things like that. And you also have to have the ability to pay your rent going forward if we provide the assistance to get you out of your arrears. So that's pretty much the rental assistance program. Right now, we are open and taking applications. We opened May 1st, and I'm anticipating us being open through August. Right now, we have about 2,500 applications that we're reviewing. So it's been a heavily utilized program, and takes us about 6 weeks to turn over application. One more thing about rental assistance: all payments go to the landlord. So you have to have landlord's participation in order to receive the funding. All right, so this is another program that we house in the Human Services Division, Criminal Justice Legal Services Initiative, and this was kind of breeded out of during the pandemic era, where we provide legal assistance to Chicago residents that have juvenile and adult. We provide legal assistance, but we also assist with juvenile and adult expungement or sealing, cannabis expungement, warrant and bond relief, and other criminal record relief. So that's broken down into 5 different tiers. So we have Cabrini Legal Aid, Teamwork Inglewood. Cabrini Legal Aid covers 3 different zones. So those are the 3 agencies that work that program. Our next program is our Legal Protection Fund. So this is for legal protection for immigrants and refugees residing in Chicago. So this is kind of our response to the new arrivals that came in and in need of particular services. So that's headed up by the Resurrection Project, as well as National Immigrant Justice Center. Trying to get through this as quick as possible. This slide here in particular, 211, and 211's here to represent, but we are a partial funder of 211. So I'll pass that. I'll let you take care of that. Now, tax prep. So we also fund Ladder Up, who is responsible for doing tax prep throughout the city for those that can't afford to, have their taxes done. And I believe that information is in the back as well, but they're placed throughout the city. We're actually looking to try to get them housed at centers to provide services as well. We also have the CSBC scholarship, which we just wrapped up, and we're about to issue awards. But this, we run this scholarship pretty much every year, and it's for low-income students that are going into college. And then we also provide public benefits outreach and education through Legal Aid Chicago. So this is an initiative. We actually have the most site at the community service centers as well. So they assist those that are applying for SNAP, TANF, basically public benefits, but they also provide education in regards to public benefits as well. They're special in particular at our centers because they're able to attack the tough cases and the appeals when people, have their benefits rejected and things of that nature. So they're on site 2 days a week. We also look to try to increase them on site as well. And not to mention the community service centers, we also became a partner in the benefits hub, which allows our workers to start doing newly enrollments for public benefits. So that's a new service that we actually added to the community service centers. I'm going to skip this particular page. All right. Lastly, we have our emergency food assistance. So we do partner with Chicago Food Depository.
in regards to emergency food assistance. We also have holiday food baskets that we give out at the community service centers on Thanksgiving and Christmas. So if you know anybody in need, they can come and sign up for those particular boxes at community service centers. So that's pretty much it in regards to DFSS. I guess when we taking questions after the 2-on-1?
Yes, we'll do 2-on-1, I think, and then you guys can take questions together. Does that sound good to everyone?
Okay.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thanks for going through that.
Double tap or hold?
Hold.
Should have a little green light. Thank you, Dan.
You're good.
No, I'm good. Just turn it on. It's on.
It's on now.
Hey, everybody, how are you doing? Appreciate you all letting me into this space. I'll also try to be brief. My name is Jason Fabian. I'm the Quality Assurance and Training Manager representing 211 Metro Chicago. Is anyone here familiar with 211 Metro Chicago? What it is, what it can do? Great. Well, Daniel, of course, the relationship with DFSS as well. Just to introduce you a little bit to the team.
Yeah, you can use that.
Oh, I have a clicker, everybody. So a little bit about our operations team. If anyone has any questions, you can reach out to Shri Lee, our Navigation Center Director. But to talk a little bit about what 211 is, and I'll breeze by some of this, but essentially 211 is a public service. It is available 24/7, 365. We do not close. We are available any method of communication that an individual is or is not comfortable with, even if that is looking for resources and information themselves. We are what's called a community navigation service, right? So what we want to do is operate as a helpline for individuals to seek relevant, accessible, and ideally hyper-local services, kind of spanning the health and human services spectrum. So individuals can contact 211 Metro Chicago for questions about resources, for help locating resources, and we have a database spanning roughly 5,500 to 6,000 programs serving the entirety of Cook County as well, not just Chicago residents. 211 is not here to replace any existing services. We are not a replacement for mental health crisis outlets. That would still be 988. We are not a replacement for city services. That would still be 311 or emergency services. We aren't here to collect data or report any conversation an individual has with 211 is confidential, and we're only asking relevant questions in an attempt to connect individuals with services within their community. The biggest thing to note about what 211 can and cannot do in terms of replacement for services is we are not replacing shelter intake related services. Those who are still seeking immediate shelters in the city of Chicago should still be contacting 311. And let's talk a little bit about why 211 came to existence and why we're here to support the Cook County community. 211s had actually been attempted to get off the ground to serve Chicago and the Cook County community in the past, but in 2020, the COVID pandemic caused a lot of confusion, right? A lot of individuals didn't know where to turn. They didn't know what was accessible. They didn't know what resources were out there. So the Cook County, the city of Chicago, as well as some other public funders came together with the United Way of Metro Chicago to launch a 211 for Chicago, for the Cook County regions. Those who are unaware, 211s are available across the nation. 97% of the United States is covered by a 211, so we were really happy to be the last major metropolitan area to serve one. And as I said again, and as I'll probably say a few more times, we're available 24/7, right? If individuals pick up their phone right now and call 211, you'll connect with someone. If you call us on Friday on July 4th, we're still going to be open to help connect individuals to resources. And we all do all of that work in-house as well. Everyone that works at 211 Metro Chicago, everybody that's assisting is a Chicago resident here. So dialing 211 will connect you with somebody in the community to have a conversation about resources within your community. Just like your 911s, your 988s, or 211 is an official N11 designation by the FCC in 2000. So anywhere somebody in Cook County calls or texts 211, they will be routed to us. Same with DuPage County, Lake County, Will County, all bordering counties as well have their local 211, and all an individual needs to do is text or call to be routed to their local 211. Talking a little bit about what community navigation means. When we're speaking about 211s, when we're speaking about community navigation, we're speaking about the conversation that we want to have with any community members to help navigate the landscape of social services and that social safety net. So We will have a conversation with individuals. If you contact 211, you'll be connected with one of our resource navigators, which are trained, empathetic, trauma-informed individuals to have that conversation with you about the needs that are present in your life, whether that was due to a recent job loss, a recent medical incident, or just the overwhelming nature of maintaining resources and keeping up with your life as well. So our individuals, our resource navigators are available by phone, they're available by text to connect with someone. We have a dedicated team as well to manage our resource database of 5,500 to 6,000 programs. We have a yearly verification cycle to try to keep those resources as up to date as possible, right? And one thing about 211 is we are omni-channel, so individuals can contact 211 in any method that they are comfortable with. We of course recommend a phone call, so you can speak to one of our resource navigators, have a conversation about the needs that are present in your life, some unspoken needs that may be present in your life, right? Some needs that individuals may have that they're not directly calling about, but are related to a need that they're more concerned about, right? So we can try to meet the full spectrum of needs and provide individuals with resources for more than just what's their primary focus at the moment. But if individuals are comfortable calling 211, you can text us. If anybody sends their zip code to 898-211, they'll be connected with one of our resource navigators. Of course, if individuals prefer, our directory is publicly available online. 211metrochicago.org contains our full resource directory where individuals can search themselves for resources and download lists of resources for yourself or for others. And just a few statistics about what to expect when you contact 211. Our target is to not leave anybody on the phone by themselves. So if an individual contacts 211, you're going to be connected with a resource navigator in under 40 seconds. Industry standards for these are under 60 seconds. So we want to make sure that if an individual has needs, if something's pressing in their life, they don't know where to turn, they're overwhelmed by all the noise that an internet search may cause when you're looking for resources, that you can connect with one of our resource navigators relatively quickly, and you're not going to be stuck waiting on hold for 5, 10, 20, 30 minutes, right? Our directory spans, as I said, over 5,500 programs. Our resource navigators are available by phone 24/7 to have that conversation related to the needs that are pressing you in your life, your family members, individuals within the community that you might know or care about, right? And next, I'm going to talk a little bit about what to expect when an individual does contact 211. First is a person-centered approach. Like I said before, it's a conversation, right, about the needs that are happening the needs that are present in a person's life, the circumstances that are present in their life. Like everybody here said before when they were overviewing their community graphics, individuals who have more income in their pockets, have less concerns, are statistically safer, are statistically in safer communities, right? So 211 or our resource navigators will have a conversation with you about not just what you're contacting us about that day, but the full spectrum of resources that can meet their needs. We want to work to empower, to advocate individuals about the resources that are available out, serving those in Cook County, and empower them to take charge of those resources, to contact those resources, to advocate for themselves and their needs. Additionally, 211 is confidential, right? Anything an individual says to 211 stays with 211 unless it involves an immediate crisis, right? The threat to harm of somebody, to a person, to themselves or somebody else. And we won't ask an individual any questions that are not relevant to what we're trying to do, which is just connect an individual to relevant, accessible, and local services. So we aren't going to ask anybody their immigration status. We're not going to ask them any specifics about a disability. Any questions that we're asking them are just relevant to collect information about the needs that are present for community members within Cook County, and in order to connect them with those services, right? And a little bit about what you can and can't expect for 211. Again, we're only trying to have a conversation about the needs that are present in your life in an attempt to locate resources that can assist them. So we aren't going to ask for your home address. We were going to ask for your zip code, as that will help us target local resources. We might ask about the presence of disabilities, but we won't ask for any specifics about it or anything that might be sensitive. We won't ask specific health information, specific questions related to a person's experience with the criminal legal system, although we will ask if an individual has any experience with the criminal legal system, and if they need any additional resources in support of that for those who are returning citizens. And we will ask if you're a union member, a veteran, if you serve as a caregiver for anybody in your life in an unpaid capacity, so we can help structure resources for that as well. And one thing that's very important to 211, as Daniel knows, is we can't do it by ourselves, right? 211 is built on partnerships. We have great partnerships with DFSS, with other community organizations throughout Chicago, throughout Cook County. We have partnerships with both the Cook County government as well as the City of Chicago government, the Greater Chicago Food Depository. Daniel had a great slide about the Greater Chicago Food Depository as, you know, a food hub serving food banks throughout Chicago. For those who don't know, the Greater Chicago Food Depository also has a benefits hub. So we have a great relationship for individuals who are kind of navigating the landscape of public benefits. Everybody knows 2025 underwent a lot of changes to eligibility, largely around SNAP. In 2027 and late 2026, that's going to affect Medicaid as well. So we have a great and efficient relationship with GCFD for anybody who's contacting 211, who has any questions, who needs any assistance applying or just having that conversation about the changing nature of anyone's public benefits. We have relationships with the Chicago Department of Public Health as well to make sure that our navigators are fully informed as the landscape of public benefits changes as well. We want to be proactive and not reactive. So we bring in trainings with our community partners. We put the information out in front of our staff so they're able to have that conversation as needs are presenting in individuals' lives. We have a great partnership with the Mayor's Office of Reentry to support our individuals who might have experience with the criminal legal system, and much more. As Daniel mentioned, ladder up tax assistance. As everybody knows, it's 95 degrees out right now. Our directory is fully up to date with cooling centers, with warming centers that will be active when the weather flips. And just a few statistics about 211 Metro Chicago. I'll breeze by these, but these are to launch. 211 Metro Chicago launched in January of 2023. To that date and up to June 23rd, we've had 650,000 total interactions. A lot of those are coming through our website, right? We want our data to be publicly available to individuals. We want those resources to be publicly available for individuals. So our breakdown of total individuals that we've contacted to web searches is accessible here. Individuals are largely calling us for housing related needs, for food related needs, for rental related needs. The majority of our calls come from the City of Chicago, about 75% from the city, 25% from Cook County, and we find that the large demographic of individuals calling us fall in that 25 to 34 age range. And aside from 211, throughout the years of our operation, we've also tacked on a few other services to aid community members, largely serving through a homeless prevention workflow, as well as the Chicago and Cook County coordinated entry systems. Just to give some brief update, we do also within 211 operate these 3 homeless prevention lines. 2 of them are very similar to the RAC program that Daniel had mentioned. They're offering rental assistance, mortgage assistance, security deposit assistance. We do preliminary screenings for those where we're available traditional business hours for these lines, largely not 24/7, but we will screen individuals for preliminary eligibility criteria to meet for these rental assistance programs and offer out direct referrals to partner agencies throughout Chicago, throughout Cook County. We also operate the coordinated entry phone access point for Chicago's coordinated entry system for all Chicago, doing intakes to enroll individuals onto the housing wait list for the Chicago coordinated entry, as well as keep their spot in the priority list active or in the wait list active. If anybody wants to take a picture of these, we have cards as well for this. This is how you can access it. Our HPCC line is accessible by dialing 311. That's for rental assistance, for homeless prevention assistance. That's available Monday through Friday from 8:30 to 4:30. Our suburban Cook County call center also available Monday through Friday, 8:30 to 4:30. Also screening individuals for state homeless prevention assistance, as well as diversion assistance for those who are currently experiencing homelessness or at risk of experiencing homelessness. And then our coordinated entry phone access line for individuals who are currently or at imminent risk of homelessness that are looking to enroll or stay active on Chicago coordinated entry's housing waitlist can contact us Mondays, Wednesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. And then we have Tuesday evening hours as well from 3 p.m. to 9 p.m. for those who can't contact us during traditional business hours. One thing that's important to note about these services is our HPCC, our Homeless Prevention Contact Center, and our Suburban Cook County Contact Center. Those are phone-based access only. So if individuals are looking to screen for rental assistance or for our Suburban Cook County call center for diversion assistance, that's strictly a phone-based outlet. But for those who need to enroll or maintain their spots on the waiting list for Chicago's coordinated entry housing wait list, they can contact us at that number, at those hours. There's also in-person access points scattered around the city of Chicago, those all of which we have within the 211 Metro Chicago database to be able to connect somebody to their local outlet.
And Jason, just for sake of time, do you think maybe one or two more slides? Looks like this one's a good one.
I can do that. I don't think individuals need the data. This is the very important. All of our data is publicly accessible, right? If you go to 211metrochicago.org/counts, you can find data by zip code, by ward, by need of what individuals are contacting 211 Metro Chicago about, the types of resources that we are outletting to individuals. And just to provide some quick data, some quick local statistics for you, for these following zip codes, 60613, 18, 60640, we have reached roughly 3,600 contacts to date, largely mirroring the top needs that individuals contact 211 Metro Chicago about: housing, utility assistance, food-related assistance, and employment-related assistance, and then the agencies that we're most often referring individuals as well, spanning these zip codes. And if anybody has any additional questions, we have our contact information. If anybody wants to request any data, there's a link to do so in there. You can scan that QR code. If anybody's representing a community organization or knows of a community organization that is worth inclusion for the 211 Metro Chicago database, you can contact us at resources@211metrochicago.org as well.
They left resources, like the little cards out at our table too, so please check. There's a ton of great resources on there, so please go check that. Thank you so much.
Yes, of course. And then anyone has any questions?
Jason, if you want to stay up here with us, Daniel, if you want to come up. If anybody have any questions for Daniel or Jason, we'll take about 9 minutes worth of questions. Just because you have to reserve time for public comments.
On our way over here.
Glad you asked that question. Absolutely. So we do have coordinated, we have All Chicago on site that put people in the coordinated entry system. I don't know exactly. On Thursday. Thank you.
And could you describe quickly what the coordinated entry system is for those who might not know?
So the coordinated entry system is, so Chicago wanted to centralize their housing intake. So they came up with the coordinated entry system. So everybody who's interested in like housing programs, subsidized housing, things like that, they get registered in this coordinated entry system by All Chicago. And from there they get, go ahead.
Just to add to what Daniel said, the coordinated entry system is a standardized, centralized way of offering homeless services and prioritizing services for those experiencing homelessness to those with the most. And also one thing to add to all of Daniel's slides is, DFSS has a lot of services. A lot of the services that were on Daniel's slides are also within the 211 Metro Chicago directory, so individuals can contact 211 to find local outlets to each of those programs.
Question for Daniel. So with this weekend, it's very hot. Unfortunately, we have a federal holiday on Friday, or granted holiday on Friday, and then the holiday is actually on Saturday. So with these city closings, what is DFSS doing to ensure expand? I mean, this is a very I don't have a big question. I have an immediate question.
Yeah.
So this weekend, what is DFS doing to make sure that they're going to be available cooling centers when everyone, the city's on vacation?
So we will have one of our cooling centers open Friday, our Garfield Center, which is our most used center. In regards to the other 5, yeah, they'll be closed. They close Thursday at 5 p.m. They won't open again until Monday. But hopefully this weekend, I don't think it's going to be super hot in order for us to open. We will open if we get triggered by OEMC. So that's pretty much our trigger. If emergency services say I think it's the temperature. I don't know the exact temperature, but you know, it's temperature based. Typically for us, it's more wintertime when we actually extend hours. So we can go 24 hours in the winter, or we'll extend because it's typically colder at night. So typically we open later during the wintertime, not during the summer. It's cooler at night anyway. So yeah. I hope I answered your question.
I mean, I'm old enough to remember when 700 people died over a long weekend in '95, and it's going to be very hot, and we have an extended weekend. I just feel the urgency that there's going to be a lot of people heat stressed this weekend, and with only one site open in Garfield Park, that's a small location for 175.
Sure, I would say also keep in mind that libraries and parks are also warming and cooling centers as well. So they can be utilized as well.
Question.
Yes, sir.
Talking about the RAP program, you said you had about 2,500 people.
That's a mic if you want.
You said you had about 2,500 people today. How many of that 2,500 are approved? And do you have any statistic that shows that how many people that do get approved, what their success rate is of getting a 5 or 6 months of assistance? Do they go on to be able to support themselves?
I don't have those statistics on me. I would say typically with rental assistance, I'd just give 100. Say if we got 100 cases, I would say out of 100, we probably get an approval rate of about 30. And that's primarily because a lot of landlords don't want to participate. And then our program, it does require some documentation. So you have to have a current lease. You have to produce like income documentation, things of that nature. So a lot of times, a lot of the applications kind of stop at the documentation point.
The people that do get approved, do you track what the success rate is of those people?
So we do a 90-day follow-up with those clients to make sure that they are still housed. So that's kind of, as much as we do, we check in to make sure that they are housed at the 90-day mark.
Thank you.
Man, I have one question for them. Mine is share Mike. Jason, this is for you. I know Daniel talked about qualifying criteria for you to receive resources. Is there anything that we should be aware of from like a 211 side? Can anyone call? So that's my first part. Like just any specific qualifying criteria that might be, or eligibility, I guess you should say, for your services. And then if you can walk us through maybe someone that's been looking for a job for a little bit, like if they contact your department to help with resources, what that step-by-step process looks like.
Yeah, absolutely. And when you're speaking to eligibility criteria, are you speaking for 211 specifically or any affiliated rental assistance programs? Let me speak to both. 211, as long as you're within the city or within Cook County, that's the only eligibility requirement to receive services or to go through a 211 intake. Anybody in Cook County, that's the only bar. If anyone's in DuPage, Will, or Lake County, they also have 211s to serve. But all the resources that we have within our directory are meant to serve residents of Chicago, residents of Cook County. And then speaking more to some of our homeless prevention phone intake centers, are very similar to the RAP program. Individuals need to have documented rental arrears, temporary economic crisis that caused them to fall behind, meet geographic eligibility, whether that's our homeless prevention contact center serving Chicago residents or suburban Cook County contact center serving those in suburban Cook County, as well as a self-sufficiency component, so an ability to keep up with future household payments that individuals who are seeking assistance with arrears or seeking security deposit and first month rent assistance to maintain housing stability. And one thing that we really leverage with those homeless prevention phone intake lines and our 211 intake lines is using them together to kind of meet the full spectrum of a person's needs. So if an individual might not meet eligibility criteria for a rental assistance program, we have 211 also in-house to be able to offer additional rental assistance outlets or to address resources for the reason why an individual may not have met eligibility criteria. To use your examples, it's not uncommon that an individual contacts for rental assistance due to a loss of employment and they're still searching for that employment. So we would encourage an intake with 211 Metro Chicago so we can have that conversation about what type of employment a person's looking for, where they're at in their employment journey. Is an individual more focused with immediate income and that they want to address maybe more career development services later on? But we would encourage our resource navigators, or anybody seeking employment or rent or food or really any type of service, to have more in-depth conversation about what's the biggest priority in a person's life, as well as kind of more of the longer term outlet and what resources can help meet your immediate need, but what resources we can also help provide an individual to set them more up for longer term self-sufficiency. Hope that answered your question.
It does. I just wanted to piggyback on one more thing, just in regards to barriers. So one more barrier that we do have is fair market rate rent. We are held by the FMR of a particular area. So if we have a unit over that particular rent, we can't fund it. So that's another barrier. And that's kind of more specific to in this area as well, because we have a lot of high rents. And that's a huge barrier for the North area, what would you say?
One thing I just wanted to say that brought us to 211. So you might remember that when we first started district council, we started giving out little palm cards that had information for actually thresholds and other mobile crisis teams that were available in Chicago. And we heard from business owners as well as police as well as community that those cards were really, really helpful in being able to offer somebody a resource that they came across. And so as we're thinking about how else can we continue to provide resources to community, we want to make sure that people know about 211 and are able to offer that as well, and make sure that police officers, we hear one of the things that they're working on in the community policing report is some type of database that police officers are able to refer people in the community to. And I think we have this database, and so to try and recreate the wheel seems like a lot of work. So one of the things I know our district council has talked about doing is trying to bring this to CPD and make sure that they understand what this is as well. And I know we're running out of time, so I will stop right there.
And then, one of the reasons that we brought representatives from 211 and DFSS is what Jenny mentioned before. Highly resourced communities equate to safer communities. So the more that we know, the more that we empower ourselves with, the more that we tell our neighbors about, the better off we're going to be. So I'm just going to take that as an opportunity to thank Daniel and Jason for being here tonight, and thank you for the work that you do, and then thank you for sharing with us. So
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Okay, so we do have to get out of here at 8 p.m. They are very strict, so I'm going to ask everyone that does have a public comment to please respect the time. And I will call our first speaker, which will be Natha.
Thank you. So just to follow up on the follow-up, speaking of leadership, so on May 13th, during our last meeting, we talked about the blocking of the access to the emergency room at Illinois Masonic that happened on, was it April 25th, right? And if we could get an answer from the 19th Police District as to explanation to what that was and have a conversation about that. And the second was the petition that I emailed you as well as our aldermen and the Pride Chicago around community forum to have a conversation about post-Pride policing, because we just don't have any visibility into how those plans are developed, what is being prioritized, and what, if any, community input gets in. We know about the survey, but as someone who has been writing and submitting in that survey, I've never seen anything coming out of it. And the last question, again, back to the people, the two people who are being, I don't have a word to describe, that are being punished for already being mentally ill and falling through the cracks of the system. And our alderman's office, unfortunately, is not helping, right? So speaking of leadership, what do we need to do to, first of all, get answers after we submit public comment in this forum, specifically from our district, police district? And second, how do we, in fact, what do we need to do to organize that public forum so that our city council leadership, our aldermen, other aldermen from this area, our police district can actually come together and have a conversation about community policing that is more productive, data-driven, where we use best practices from other wards and other cities to really innovate around how we do post-Pride and Pride safety and security measures versus what we have now, which is we do the same thing every year and hope for a different outcome. Leadership, Sam.
Well,
Move on. I don't want to speak for all of us, but this is a forum where you can bring those concerns. So for instance, the concerns that were brought last month were included in the report that was sent from our district to the Community Commission for Public Safety and Accountability. If you want specific follow-up on specific things from the 19th district, then I think we should have a specific conversation about what that is and what you want it to look like. When it comes to discussions with the aldermen, I mean, we are not that office. We cover a similar area and we have communications with that office, but oftentimes, sometimes there will be concerns brought here about a different office, whether that's state legislature, state's attorney, alderperson. We can help to be a convener, we can help to convey some of those, but that is sort of the extent of it in lots of ways, and going directly to that office is going to be a better resource for things like that. When it comes to the Pride Parade, there are a lot of public safety determinations made about the Pride Parade that we frankly have not been brought into. Those are done by the police district and by the aldermen. And I know that Alderman Lawson, for instance, had a press conference with the police district before the Pride Parade. We were not part of those.
It was undisclosed location, undisclosed time.
Well, it was disclosed after the fact, I suppose, and I assume there was a press release about it. But there's a multiplicity of concerns that we can help be a connector for and work on specific ones. And then the last thing is public comment here is a way to get us information, but if you were looking for a more specific response on specific things, let's have a conversation about that.
Not that I do want to mention and commend Alderwoman Clay. She does host community conversations throughout the year, and when we're asked to speak at those, I was there just last week. So when you speak to Alderman Lawson, I would suggest to use that as an example and say, hey, I know Angela's doing those. The 19th District Council does attend those, and it's not just us; it's a bunch of resources. So I know it's probably on your list of what you've already said, but just wanted to talk about that because that is happening in other wards.
We talked to you because you at least listen.
Right. Well, he ran away last time. It was 6:16. He literally ran off. That happened.
I'm not going to speak to the schedule, but Chris, I believe you're next. And just like I said, we do need to be out here in 9 minutes, so please.
Okay, 2 minutes. So we have been talking about what was policing going to look like during Pride. The parade went well. Pride celebration went well. We hardly noticed any police. I think went well. Conversely, the post-Pride parade was horrific. I don't know if you went out between like 3 and 9 o'clock. We live right off of Belmont. We had to go to the other end of Belmont, and the police had turned it into some kind of awful corral. So the streets have been completely blocked off. The cops were standing in the street, but all pedestrians were crammed into the sidewalk. They had chain link up against the sidewalk. Lots of enthusiastic young people after a wonderful parade. That had to be the worst example of policing that I've seen. I believe the whole thing was turned on its head. It was made to make people miserable and to leave. We have lots of footage of cops whooping out their batons and doing this kind of pressing people in directions for no particular purpose. It was clear that they were just trying to keep everybody into this corral space, which obviously there was nothing for them to do. My understanding is at least no one was hurt. I was carted by the police trying to get to my own house on Sunday. So it was a really horrible, this is why we've pressed to have a conversation as a community where we can do something rather than, it was apartheid-like. I use that word particularly. It was not the way I think Lakeview wants to present to the rest of the city of Chicago, but it was bad.
It's crazy.
And then last we have Mark.
Usually I try to keep to 45 seconds to 9:15. I just wanted to ask our very hardworking, knowledgeable leaders, are we following up on the taser situation as far as defining it and seeing if if there's any system that follows to follow up on shootings to see if maybe some of these could have been tased. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Mike. Thanks, Nathan. Commander Sani has been out. He's had surgery recently, so once we get back, I'll bring that up to him again. I know I had a good discussion with him about it. He said that was all within protocol, but I'll put on my list to speak with Commander Sani. We want to thank our host here at Tulsa Library, and then just a quick shout out or mention of our next meeting, July 29th at 6:30. That's going to be at Clarendon Park. That's over by my neighborhood in Uptown. Like I said, it's going to be an update on our park initiative, our park and alternative response. So we hope to see you there, and everyone stay safe, stay cool, and at 7:55, I will adjourn the meeting. So thank you, everybody.
And please, thank you so much for coming, and please, the library really wants people to get out. No, but make your way to the door.